This episode is brought to you by the Pelora Group.
Welcome back to Winning Through Culture.
I'm Tim Flanagan.
And I'm Amanda Kramer.
When culture's not a priority, people aren't a priority. Having an intentional focus helps you as a leader remain impactful and relevant as you move your business forward.
Welcome to Winning Through Culture.
Welcome back to another episode of Winning Through Culture. This is a very special episode for me. I'm very, very happy to be with my good friend, Mr. Richard Weylman. Richard has been a massive influence in my career for all 36 years. We both started when we were 22, right, Richard? So
that's right.
36 years, put it in perspective. But I just want to share a little bit about your background and why I think you are such a remarkable person and are doing amazing work in the financial services industry in the last several years. I know you've been in other professions, but I think part of the uniqueness of your story, those that know you were orphaned at 6. You spent time in 19 different foster homes and 11 different schools. There's something that makes you adaptable and really good at interpersonal skills. I have to imagine that was it. But instead of becoming a victim of those circumstances, you have overcome them and you've had a remarkable business success. You've been an award-winning general sales manager at Rolls-Royce, which I know was a pretty cool experience. You headed up sales and marketing for the Robe Report, which is a magazine for luxury lifestyle. Remember reading that when that was around. You are in the Hall of Fame for your public speaking, and you've been inducted into the Customer Experience Hall of Fame for legendary work helping brands engage their clients and retention of those clients. You are the author of 3 books, one of which I have here. Your most recent one, 100 Proven Ways to Acquire and Keep Clients for Life. I give these to advisors all the time, which is the #1 release on Amazon for marketing and consumer behavior, and the #1 customer relations book on Amazon. So you've been a part of the Forbes editors' top 10 business books for 2024 last year with that book, and you've done great work with being recognized for your work with this book by BookPal. So that book's on Amazon and wherever else you like to buy books. So you are a Horatio Alger nominee for your philanthropic work on top of all that for orphans and widows. So just an exceptional career, man of great impact, and thank you for being with us today.
Well, thank you, Tim. It's a real privilege to be with you, and I'm just grateful to have you as a friend. Thank you.
Well, the honor is mine. So, this particular episode, we're going to kind of look at the financial advisory space. There's always something going on in our wonderful profession and industry. And this year, 2025, is no different when we're recording this. But I really want to kind of start with the impact of culture and dive into that. And we'll eventually get to this newest book you have. But I would argue that culture probably matters more than anything right now in the financial services industry. It matters in all businesses, but what do you think an intentional culture means in the advisor space, financial services space today?
That's a wonderful question, and I agree with you. And 2 things I would say. First is that culture is not something you install. People that ask about that all the time. You don't install, how can I improve my culture? Well, it's really a decision, and that's what culture is. It's a decision, an action of who you want to be and how you want to be perceived in the marketplace and how you treat people, given the fact that I'm speaking now specifically of financial services, but I could give you many, many other examples. The important thing about being intentional is everything that you do is determined based upon the culture that you want to create for others to be a part of, whether that be your clients, whether that be prospects, or whether it be your colleagues. It's intentional in the sense that this is who I am. This is what I want to be known for in the marketplace. And that drives every decision and every action, or it should. And when it does, people begin to very quickly identify your distinctness in the marketplace because you're not about yourself, but rather you're intentionally all about them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, building your brand. Do the financial services profession today runs the gamut from solo advisors to boutique firms to massive enterprises, some of which are public entities. How do you feel culture is important in all those settings, or do you feel culture is important in all those settings?
Well, it's critically important. Even if you're a solo advisor, let's speak to that individual for a moment.
Yeah.
I think sometimes as a solo advisor, we have our why, Simon's a good friend of mine, and our why is important, whatever that is. But the important thing about culture is that it really is the foundational piece of our positioning. And the challenge in the financial services industry particularly, there is a tremendous amount of people running around the industry telling everybody how to promote, buy leads, send this, do this email, this social media, this is the best in the world. Come to my mastermind, I'll teach you how to master it, which is, God bless them. But the truth of the matter is all this promotion is doing is eroding consumer confidence that you're the right person. If you have your culture in place and you know who you are and the impact you want to make in the community, that is the position you want to occupy. Well, that then guides all your promotion. So you start promoting based on the culture and the position you want to occupy in people's mind. Otherwise, you just continue to promote, and people say they just want to sell me something, or you're trying to create a transaction with me. And I can tell you that affluent and individuals are not interested in a transaction. They want to open a relationship. So culture is important because it helps you stay centered on that which it is that you want to be known for in the marketplace, and it guides all of your promotional activities.
Yeah. I know you speak all over the country. I know you're traveling here soon, but any stories that come to mind that illustrate that? And sometimes, unfortunately, those stories might not be the positive side, but sometimes there's an illustration of what client culture you don't want to have, but maybe one that, positively impacted client loyalty or business growth.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's get outside of financial service because there's all that, but they this and let's set the biases over here. And as you know, I do work in other industries as well.
Yes.
And one company that I worked with when my previous book came out, The Power of Why, breaking out the competitive marketplace. And it was Freddy, Steakburger, and Custard. And they're out of Wichita. And they were a small franchisee and a franchise company started by a fellow in his 90s. His name was Freddy. Long story short, yeah. So what we did is we worked very hard to build Freddy's way of doing business. Mm-hmm. And we were going to teach that to all the employees, all the franchisees, et cetera. And what he wanted to do is have a kind, friendly, family-friendly environment with quality food. And that was his whole focus. That's what he wanted to do. So we created the Freddy's way. And that became the culture that we took to every franchise, every operation. And as a result of that, in 2.5 years, Freddy's won the National Restaurant Award for the best fast casual restaurant in the country. They beat everybody. Smashburger, Culver's, everybody crushed it. And then Freddy last fall sent me an email. He said, I've got an offer. I'm going to sell the company for $2.7 billion. And he sold it. But it was because he had a cultural place. And when I talked to Scott, I said, what do you think the magic was? He said, the magic was they could not believe how effective having a culture called the Freddy's Way and having rituals that every shift they came on, they talked about, well, today we're going to smile and be friendly. Today we're going to offer some extra custard when they come in. If they don't want to order one, we'll give them a mini just as a thank you. This drove that business. And it was even Walmart called them and wanted them to install a Freddy's in every Walmart in the country. They turned them down.
Wow.
Because they wanted to take McDonald's out and put Freddy's in, and they turned them down because they felt, here's what Freddy said. He said, the problem with that is we'll lose our culture.
Because they won't be in charge of the
exactly right
culture in the stores, Walmart.
Right, exactly right. It's going to be a combo. We're going to have culture, which is a little bit.
We'll take your idea, put it in our store, and we'll be in charge. Which will
thank you very much.
Freddy's way quickly.
Yeah. Never mind. So I'm 97 now, and I'll go ahead and sell it for 2.7.
Oh my goodness! And I've been to a Freddy's custard, and they do all that you said. And the lines are usually pretty long, both drive through and walk up.
Right. The Freddy's way, and that's the culture they built. And I got a printing company in Port Charlotte, Florida. I told him that story. I did a meeting for them. And a young guy, he took over the company from the owner, bought him out, and worked there for a few years. Guy wanted to retire, didn't have a successor, sold it to him, and on a payout basis. And it was a $2 million, $2.5 million printing company. It's now doing $20 million a year. And they've exploded. They bought other companies and they have their culture side, just like Freddy's does. We developed the culture side. And this is the culture that we have within Monarch. And it's just amazing how the employees are empowered by it. And most importantly, every decision they make, does this really fit the culture, what we want to be known for in the community?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, the intentionality of actually having that written down and then sharing it with people is very powerful. It's one thing to say we have it and people think they know what it is. Another thing to have it that intentional and built into the training. So
well said. It's not a mission statement.
Yeah.
This is what we want to be known for.
Yeah. That is how we're going to do it. So you mentioned one of your books you wrote, The Power of Why. What inspired you to write that?
Well, it was several things, but one of the things that really clicked me, I do a lot of work on financial services, as you know, and
Yeah.
other industries. And what always occurred to me is that salespeople are really under the pressure to sell. Let's sell them, sell them, sell them. I had a call recently with a firm, and the sales manager says, Richard, would you come in and teach our people how to hook them? I said, well, I don't do that. So, I mean,
Sounds like a fishing story.
yeah, it's like that mindset. But what prompted me was from my research, I began to realize that features and benefits is not what people were looking for. I mean, features are great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we need features. This is the recommendation I'm going to make for you. And the benefit to them is also important. But people were looking for is the emotional connection to that. They needed to know, but what does this mean to me? So we're a research-based consultant. I have a research division. So
Yep.
I had Janelle and her team. I said, let's start talking to people and finding out why they don't say yes and what's really stumbling them. And they said, well, we don't know why we should buy. Thus the title, The Power of Why Breaking Out. They said, if people would explain what it means to us, we'd be a lot more inclined to do business with them.
Mhm.
So I also serve on the U.S. Institute Luxury Board, and we support 100 luxury brands around the world. So we began to do surveys over there with affluent, high net worth people. Exact same thing. Well, I wasn't sure if it was the right thing for me. So it began to occur to me that, the challenge was that people today, as I said earlier, they're not looking to be sold. They want to solve something. And the way they're going to do that, they're going to open a relationship, but they need to understand what your recommendation means to me. And throughout the book, I give them many, 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 many examples of how to convey shall we say, the emotional advantage of that which it is that you're doing. So just to give you an example, and I took one right out of the book, and I thought you might enjoy this. So a financial advisor might say this, Tim.
Okay.
Now, Tim, one of the things we're going to do for you and your wife is we're going to create a financial plan for you. And the benefit is it's going to give you the freedom to pursue your life passions. That's all psychobabble. I mean, people go, yeah. Well, the guy at UBS told me that, this guy told me that, or that guy told me that. So we began an interview, and that's what prompted The Power of Why. We began to interview people, and they're saying, if they would only tell us what it means to you. And so we'd say, well, what would it mean to you? And they start telling. So, my team's writing it down. They're coming, look at all these things. I mean, I had like 22 pages, single line, what it means to me. And I thought, I got to write a book on this. So if you create a financial plan, what you should say is, Tim, we're going to create a financial plan for you and your family. Now, what this means to you is we're going to be able to organize all of your assets and put them to work for you in a tax-advantaged way. And the benefit is it's going to give you the freedom to pursue your life passions. What people buy is that competitive advantage, that emotional advantage in the middle. That's what they're looking for. If I said to you, Tim, I've got years of experience as a financial advisor, so you can make informed financial decisions. Well, that's what everybody would say. But what they really want to know, can I use you as a resource? So we tested that, and we talked to over 350 people and asked the one question, what do years of experience in an advisor mean? You know what they said? Well, what it means to me is I can use them as a resource to get answers to my questions. But do you think a financial advisor and experience says that? Never. What they say is we got years of experience, and so you can know you're making good financial decisions. We all sound pretty much the same.
Well, that is, the mass commoditization of the profession is definitely a challenge. Yeah. You talk a little bit in the book about functional emotional truths of clients. So it sounds like you're kind of hitting on that with the positioning or language versus the blah, 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 Charlie Brown teacher talk.
Yeah, it really is. I think we don't do enough education with people about the emotion of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, there's all these behaviors, consumer behavior, and I've sat through all those meetings, and it's all very good information, but it's all esoteric. And, I'm sitting in the audience, a page of notes, and I get back to the office and say, no, so how do I use this? Yeah. So that becomes the challenge. So when you really think about it, it's simple is best. And what people really want to know is they want to be educated, the application to them. That's the emotional component. Mm-hmm. And we don't do a good emotional discovery. We need to do a better job in the financial services world by asking the right questions. But the important thing is people want to know, what does it mean to me? And that's how we came up with that phrase. We began to ask people, they said, everybody sounds the same, presentations sound the same, there's this massive gap between here we are and here's the advisor, and the gap's getting bigger because they're using all this English industry language and we don't get it.
Yeah.
Or they over-explain it. We're going to put you in an annuity with a double-down rollover feature, and it's got a kick-out valve, and it's going to go over here and pay in and pay out, and then it's going to come back, and it's going to give you lift on the inside, and then we got the index side of it, and it's going to roll over, and the good thing is it's going to fund the plan for you. It's going to be great. We're like, okay. I don't know what you're talking about, but we love it. We can't wait to talk about our P's, our process, our plan, our procedures. We love to talk about that stuff. They don't want to talk about any of that stuff. They just want to know, can you solve the problem there, big boy?
Yeah.
Could you explain how it's going to solve it? So how do you explain it? We asked them. They said, well, why don't they just say what it means to you, what it means to me, what it means to me? I mean, over and over and over. It wasn't like we had 40 things to choose from. It was the same phrase. Well, why can't they tell me what it means to me? Well, why don't they make it clear to us and explain it and what it means?
Yeah.
That was the lightning bolt. I was like, that's the emotion that's missing in the sales process. Well, frankly, even in the marketing process, with all due respect. I mean,
Yeah.
love to do programs all about, 6 ways to buy life insurance. I mean, man, what are you doing? I mean, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I think that book, I know you unpacked this idea a lot more. So I encourage financial advisors listening to this podcast to get on Amazon and buy that book, because I definitely think it gets into it. What you say with clients is obviously very important. A lot of people struggle to actually get clients. So hence 100 proven ways to acquire and keep clients for life. This book is rich. There's a lot of really good information in there, but what are maybe one or two of the most underrated client acquisition strategies you think advisors overlook?
Well, the industry has taught the advisor. Well, I had a classic case yesterday. I was speaking, and this guy was excited. He said, I just closed a major case, man. I'm on to the next one. And I said, well, let's stop and think here for a minute. I think the piece you're missing is when you close a sale, it's not the end of something. It's the start of a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
These individuals are going to continue to have needs throughout their life. So, I mean, this couple's in their 40s. They got grandkids coming. Every one of those grandkids could use an insurance policy. Every single one of them. I have a good friend of mine. He's bought $17 million life insurance policies for his 17 grandkids. They were born. So what do they miss? They miss the LTV, lifetime value of the client. So cultivating that client's important. That's one. Two, the challenges in terms of growing the business. I can just tell you from experience, and I'm blessed to have a coaching division too. I don't want to talk about our stuff, but as you know, a large coaching.
Yeah, coaching division. Yeah.
Yeah. And what we've discovered is even the best advisors, when you ask them, so what does your client do for a living? He runs an HVAC company. Okay, great. And what association does he belong to? Geez, I don't know. Well, what does he do for recreation? Well, I know he plays golf. What club does he belong to? I'm not really sure. Well, what are their special interests? Where do they like to give money away? Their charitable, cultural? Oh, I have no idea. And yet, we now know from the last survey that we did with Salesforce 2 years ago, 87% of people belong to something. Now, I don't know what that something is, but the advisors don't either. So the biggest gap in acquisition is understanding how your best clients are connected to people just like themselves. Now, as a follow-up to that, when you realize it, so when I got that number, I was like, okay, 6,000 people surveyed, 87% said they belong to something. I wonder how important it is to have an advisor in the network. So on the luxury board, we did another study. 71% of people that belong to something said they'd like to work with a financial advisor in their network.
Interesting.
Well, so it's like, what's the question? I mean, my point is, if you want to acquire clients, at the very minimum I would do is, let's not go crazy here, Tim. Let's take your top 10 clients. Call them on the phone and say, hi, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, we're looking to elevate our service experience with you. And so we'd like to get a sense of some of the organizations you belong to. What's the association you belong to that supports what you do for a living? What do you love to do for recreation? What club do you belong to? What do you special? And you know what? You're going to discover that many of these people belong to organizations now. How does that help you in acquisition? Well, pick one. Let's say somebody belongs to I just had this happen, a chiropractic association. So the advisor sent me an email. He said, oh my God, my best client is the president of the State Chiropractors Association. He said, what should I do? I said, why don't you make a list of the board of directors, meet with them, say, here's a list of 10 chiropractors I'd like to meet. Who do you know? Which ones know you? He said, well, I'll do that. And he did that, fired me back. So the guy gave me 8 introductions. I'll go back to my point. What's the question?
Yeah.
87% of people belong to something. Now, that doesn't mean everything, you have to target everything. But here's the challenge. The challenge with acquisition today, the average advisor is a mile wide and an inch deep.
Mm-hmm.
And the world has gone vertical, totally targeted. Totally. I mean, political campaigns are based on micro-targeting now. Yeah. I've been involved in them. We can tell you who lives in that house, send the mailer to this house that addresses this issue, but the neighbor next door, make sure you address that issue because it's a different issue. That's how sophisticated.
That's how sophisticated the marketing targeting has become.
Yeah, we as advisors, we're out trying to find somebody with a heartbeat and a checkbook we can slip through the blood test.
Well, what you talked about there really kind of, in order to go vertical, you do need to really be intentional about your client engagement strategy. What are some great touch points you've seen that, really help that process for somebody that's done a good job of going vertical?
Well, so many things. And as you know, I wrote 100 of them in the book, but I'll give you a couple right at the top. Number one, know their name. I don't mean their name is Timothy. You've got Timothy, but if he goes by Tim, you need to have that in your database. I have a friend in Atlanta, a very wealthy woman. She just had her 88th birthday, and all the signs did not say, "Happy birthday, Elizabeth." And it didn't say Betty, and it didn't say Beth, and it didn't say Liz. It said, "Happy birthday, Lolly," because her nickname is Lolly. Because when she was a little girl, her grandfather gave her lollipops, and they called her Lolly her low life. She's got
stuck for 88 years.
Right. And she said, I'll tell you one thing. Lots of advisors call me and want to move my business and talk to me about Elizabeth or Liz. I don't know who that is. My name is Lolly. Yeah. So no, my first initial is C. I get lots of emails. Dear C. Okay. I don't respond to those. T. Pickens was a friend of mine. He never went by T. It never occurred to him. So just think about, first, do you know their name? Secondly, watch how you sign your emails. Don't say best. It's the number one disliked signature, best. People don't like it. We polled it. We've live surveyed it. People detest it. They're like, best for who? Best for you? Best for me? They can't. Best what? So what we ask them, what do you like? Warm regards, kind regards. You might even do best regards if you're so enamored with it. Another thing, stop following up with people. To say that they don't like it, I can't even repeat some of the things people said over the phone to us with my interns in the other building. I mean, it was unbelievable. They're like, follow up. What? They got nothing more to offer? They're just trying to get the sale? Is that it? So don't follow up with people. Say, hey, Tim, thank you so much. I appreciate meeting you and your wife last week. I've identified 2 additional steps we can take to help you get your financial life in balance. Let's have a quick call. Don't follow up with people. Give them steps to go forward. Yeah. That makes all the difference in the world. Another thing, be careful of what you say. Does that make sense? Are you smart enough to keep up with me? I'm just curious. Okay? Are you with me so far? Is this making sense to you? Is this clear? No, change your vocabulary. Say things like, is this helpful? And the other thing is, I can tell you right now, with all this volatility we've had in the market, there's going to be there'll be more than billions. I think it'll be $1 trillion this time. I've been through 3 of them, major market as you have. And I'll tell you, when 9/11 happened, just to give you a reference point, 37% of advisors had not called their clients 6 months after 9/11. And the number one reason was we didn't know what to tell our clients, which is beyond unbelievable when you realize that it's not about what you're going to tell the clients. It's about the fact that the clients want to have somebody to talk to.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, exactly. I can keep going. I don't want to do a setup.
Well, hopefully, again, it's a great book. Encourage any advisor listening to this podcast or leader of a firm to get it and share it and use it. Most importantly, use it. I want to be respectful of your time and appreciate it. I'm curious, maybe just a few things about you, unless there's anything, as you were saying that kind of popped into your mind. But I'm curious, what habits have been most impactful in your career?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, first is my faith is important to me, so I have devotions. First thing I do every morning is I have devotions and my journal. I have a prayer book. I read my prayers out, and
I do the same. It's powerful.
It's powerful, and it makes it real for me, and that's one. And then I try to do 3 miles every day, and I don't always get to do it. Life on the road, but some of these airports get you down to 1.5 miles easy. So it makes it easy. But those are the 2 big things, I think. And, I travel a lot, but my wife and I are constant contact. That's not a promotion for them, but we talk several times a day, or we at least text several times a day. And because she's have a home here and a home in Honolulu, because we do a lot of work in Asia too. So I think those are the big things that are really important to me.
Well, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And that's a really great grounding routine for the day. So we joked about you've been at this a while. I've been at this a while. Obviously, you've been super successful. You're not doing this because you need to make money. What keeps you going, Richard?
Well, quite candidly, I really feel like it's a calling.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people, they go, what do you mean by that? Well, it's kind of like why you do what you do. I mean, you really feel like you're making a difference. And I think the thing that really is a blessing to me is seeing others succeed. I spoke at a conference this last week in Milwaukee, and there were two young ladies there, and they heard me speak 2 years ago. They ran with the message. They went back to their office and changed their culture. Had a profound impact on them. Profound. I mean, jumped right up into the top 5 in the whole firm in terms of offices. And they both got promoted. So they were there at the meeting, and they ran up on stage and said, Richard, you ever see Charlie's Angels? I said, yes. They said, we're Richard's Angels. Can we take a picture? So they stood on each side like this. They took a picture. But it was said, and then they got up and told the story on the impact it had on their business. 750 people in that audience. It blessed me so much, not because of me, but because here's someone that took some of the things that we've discovered, my experience in life, and took it to market and found great success. So I'm always, like my wife said, she said, I know you can't stop until the good Lord tells you to. It's the emails, it's the success of others that I just enjoy. And you're right. I mean, I could have stopped a long, long time ago, but
yes.
And plus the other thing is I support Smoky Mountain Home for Children. We've got 144 kids now.
Where's that?
Up in Sevierville, Tennessee.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. So these are mostly kids that can't get adopted. And for a variety of reasons. And although we've had 44, we got adopted this last year, which was great.
Wow.
Adoption service there. But we've got 140. We just took in 9 children from Pittsburgh. He's in prison for life, and mom has passed away. And so we took all 9 kids so they could stay together.
Oh, my goodness.
So, and then we have a widow's home there for pastors' widows. And we have 37 right now. And they live there rent-free, because they're pastors' widows, and each have their own apartment, and they have meals together every day. So we're a small part of that, but we have a whole group that supports that. So, and they're grandmothers to the kids, so it's really works out cool. Anyhow,
that is definitely God's work.
Yeah, so that just
the Bible.
All that stuff keeps us going.
Yeah,
Anyhow,
that's awesome. That's awesome. So, just kind of wrapping it up, knowing we got to bring this to a close, unfortunately, but we're both running hard, and I know I need to get you onto your next show. What words of encouragement would you have for advisors kind of navigating today's landscape and challenges? Obviously, there's plenty of opportunity too.
Well, that's an interesting question. First is, I would say, invest in services.
Mm-hmm.
I think what happens is that a lot of advisors get very busy running the business, and they don't spend the time doing the things they're really good at, which is growing the business and helping people get their financial life straightened out.
Yep.
So invest in services. I did when I first started out. My hands have been, well, let's just say I lived in a lot of situations where my fingers don't work quite the way they should in terms of typing. I type now, but it's this way. But when I first got started, I hired a woman in a nursing home that typed 100 words a minute, and I paid her to type letters for me. And I'd write them out long, and she'd blast away. But I knew if I didn't do that, I couldn't spend time in doing research. I couldn't spend time getting ready to go speak and bring content that was meaningful to people and audiences all over the world. So it's what I would say to an advisor is invest in services so you can really invest in yourself and get out into the marketplace and reach more people. That's one. 2, I think in the big picture, it all works out in the end. And you're going to run into a lot of card-carrying members of the Cold Water Committee. People can tell you, this is ridiculous. That's not going to work. Why'd you make that decision? This is bad. You're in your 4th year. Most people fail in their 4th year. This is all. Like my grandmother, when I went off to foster care, the social worker showed up, and they put me in the back of the old black Chevy there. And my grandmother stood there and leaned in the car, and she said, now, Richard, this is going to be hard on you. You're never going to amount to a row of pins.
Oh, boy.
Which is, of course, an exciting motivational message.
There you go. That's a motivational speech.
But now I don't know where grandma is. I mean, I think I know. But anyway, it doesn't matter. The important thing, what really matters, is there's a lot of card-carrying members of the Cold Water Committee. And what I'd encourage you to do is have positive affirmations. I'm coaching a fellow right now who struggled. He made a lot of money, and now he's struggling. So I've had him put together positive. I make a difference in people's lives. I'm going to have a successful career. I am going to care for my family. And he's put it on his mirror. His wife said, "What are you doing?" He's got Post-it notes on his mirror. But it's completely changed his attitude because attitude influences. So be careful what influences your attitude. Charlie Tremendous Jones was a dear friend of mine, and we spoke all over the world together. And his daughter now speaks. But he said something I'll never forget. He said, the messages you listen to, the people you associate with, and the books you read have the greatest impact of anything you're going to do. And that's my wife and I, about every 3 months, make a list of people we no longer want to be around because we know if they're negative, they're going to drag us down.
Wow.
So it makes a huge impact on your psyche.
Yeah. No, it does. And there's plenty of negativity in the world, but there's certainly lots of opportunity and positivity. So.
And do something for yourself. I do devotions every day. That doesn't mean you have to, but listen to some positive message that helps reinforce you because you're pumping out all day long. You're listening to lots of problems, often in a negative context.
Yeah.
So you've got to do something to reinforce your own psyche. So reinforce that. And Charlie was right. Listen to messages. Read books that will reinforce the impact you're making on people's lives. Let me tell you something. I lived in 19 foster homes. My brother lived in 6 and went to prison. My sister got married many times. And you know why? Because my dad never met a life insurance agent. He had no life insurance.
Wow.
So you make a huge difference in people's lives. Don't ever forget that. Don't let anybody tell you that you've been lucky. No, you made a decision to care, counsel, and help people get their financial life straightened out. So God bless you for doing that.
Wow. Thank you. I told that story to not your specific story, but to a new advisor yesterday that if you don't have conviction in life insurance, and I walked him through a scenario that could happen any day of the week to a young family. And I said, do you want to be the person that caused them to be financially secure, or do you want to live with the regret that you didn't call on them because you were afraid of how they might react? And then they came to you after the fact and there was nothing you could do for them. So, yeah.
Exactly right.
Yeah. We're going to put all your contact information in the show notes. I know what's the best way for people to connect with you. Is it the website?
Yeah, they can go to my website, Richard Weylman, WEYLMAN.com. That's good. And you can email me, richard@richardweylman.com. And then when you're on the website, scroll down the bottom and enroll in my performance tip. It comes out, Tim, I do it. But
weekly.
About weekly.
Yeah.
When I get...
When you get time.
Yeah,
every other week.
Yeah. But
I anxiously look for it, but yes.
But you'll see it. And also connect with me on LinkedIn if you like. I post there a lot. And we always try to bring the research and some ideas that you can use. And most importantly, I just want you to win at what you've chosen to do on behalf of others. So
thank you for what you do. It makes a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. It has in mine and our firm. And so thanks for being on Winning Through Culture, Richard.
My pleasure. Thank you, Tim. It's a real blessing.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Winning Through Culture.
Until next time, stay intentional, be impactful,
because your culture matters.